If you're hopping into Dyinglight 2 for the first time, you probably already noticed Aiden's got the lungs of a chronic smoker in his mid-40s. He can't do jack shit and gets winded for damn near everything. You even get reminded in the early game for it.
You're too weak.
And considering this is a post-apocalyptic world based around your stamina and how efficient you are in running, fighting, or jumping, your low stamina makes the early hours of the game a little more challenging than it should be. And so what I'm going to do in this video is explain to you exactly what you need to do to upgrade your stamina and or health as early as possible, because it's just going to make your experience that much smoother. It's actually something I would recommend you try to actively do in the early hours of the game rather than steamroll through the story, because it makes everything so much easier when you have more stamina. But let's start with the basics. In order to upgrade your health or stamina, you have to find 3 inhibitors. Inhibitors are these little injections locked inside GRE containers. When you find 3 of them, and only when you find 3 of them, you can then upgrade your health or your stamina depending on which one you want to personally invest in first. And it doesn't matter which of the 2 you upgrade. Every time you upgrade one or the other, your immunity level would in turn be increased, and whatever those trees you invested in, the next set of skills would then be unlocked. Because you have skills tied behind a certain amount of health, and then you have skills tied to a certain amount of stamina, and you can tell that stuff right here at the top of the screen. So for example, in this picture, I have a max health of 180 and my stamina is at 240. The hardest skill is down here at the bottom, and that's locked behind a minimum stamina of 260. So if I was to upgrade this again, it will jump to 260, and then I can acquire the more difficult parkour skill, so long as I have enough skill points, of course. But that leads to the other question: how do you acquire GRE inhibitors? Where are they? Honestly, they're damn near everywhere. There's over 120 in the game, and their locations vary wildly, from GRE quarantines or hospitals, which I believe are basically the same thing. It's just a name change. Some of them are guarded by GRE anomalies that you then have to kill in order to get access to the GRE containers. Some are inside safes, military convoys, or even just out and about in the open world. So it boils down ultimately to 2 ways of finding them very easily. 1, exploration. When you're out and about in the world, you're gonna get this audio cue. That is obviously an indication that you're close to a GRE container and therefore an inhibitor. The max distance you can be from one is 50 meters. If you are outside that radius, then it won't even pop up as an audio cue or even on your screen. Which, by the way, when you hear that audio cue, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see the GRE key pop up, and then it's going to tell you the distance you are from the container. Keep that in mind, because a lot of people don't know that that's actually there. And that's your treasure map. As you get closer and closer to the container, obviously that number is going to get lower and lower, so it's just a matter of figuring out where exactly it is based on that distance. It can sometimes be above you, can sometimes be below you. It can be inside buildings that require a little creativity as to how to gain access to it. So just keep an open mind when that pops up on your screen, and also be aware that if we're talking about a dark zone or a Forsaken store or even a GRE hospital, all that stuff is done ideally at night, because if you do it during the day, you're just asking for trouble. You're going to deal with higher numbers of the infected, you're going to be dealing with virals and even volatiles. So you're most likely not going to succeed, especially in the very beginning of the game. So the first way you're going to come across these is through direct exploration. Some of them aren't even going to pop up on your minimap or give any indication besides that audio cue, so I would recommend in those situations to just drop what you're doing and go and loot it. It'll take you anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple minutes, just depending on how creative you got to get to access that specific location. If it's inside a building that you think is a dark zone or a Forsaken store, make note of it, come back at night, and try to get it with less of a headache. The other way is through stuff that's actually easy to track, like quarantine zones or even GRE anomalies. In those situations, those will pop up either through exploration. If you get close enough, it'll just pop up on your minimap. The game would then log and track it, or you can use your binoculars instead of actually running across the map. It'll pop up on your minimap, it'll be logged, and then what you can do is go through your journal, and under activities, it'll tell you exactly what you gotta do, whether it be a quarantine zone or an anomaly. And because Dyinglight 2 is now an RPG, it tells you basically what level you should be in order to try and take it on. I would recommend, obviously in the earlier game, to take on all level 1s. If you're feeling brave enough, or if you're high enough I should say, then by all means feel free to take on a level 2, but I would suggest through open world exploration, and then there's one GRE hospital, that's a level 1. It's kind of a pain in the ass to be able to climb up to the roof, which is how you access it. So I would suggest maybe upgrading your stamina once or twice, 3 to 6 inhibitors, and then raid that GRE hospital, which will give you about 4 inhibitors in total, which should give you a nice little jump start in the early game. And the quarantine building I'm talking about is in the horseshoe sector of Old Villador, in case you're curious. But that's basically how you upgrade your health and your stamina. 3 inhibitors. Keep an eye out for that audio cue, and then of course the bottom left hand corner of your screen, once that audio cue pops up, there's going to be that little indicator at the bottom to tell you how close you are to the inhibitor. Follow that as your treasure map. And again, when you upgrade stamina or health, that'll increase your immunity to both the darkness and the chemicals in the world. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, feel free to share that down in the comments section below. Have you played Dyinglight 2? How are you guys finding it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Have you been experiencing some bugs? I do have a first impressions video coming out either today or tomorrow. It's more than that. It's more my experience on 3 different platforms with a grand total of 9 hours on each platform just to see how the game's been running. And those 3 platforms are PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, and PC. So if you want to see more on that, maybe hit the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed, and keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, Discord is always open. Link is down in the pinned comment. Special thank you to my patrons that have helped make this content possible: Grim Reaper, Carl Bird, and of course DJ Steph. But like always, my name is Cynic, and I'll see you guys in the next video.